Great. So I thought for this home practice, we should have a little bit of a spotlight on shoulders and the neck, because of course, these can be quite tricky areas. So when we talk about the shoulder joint, we're usually talking about this joint here, the glenohumeral joint, your humerus. And the glenoid is like the little cup that it's kind of sitting in, but fairly superficially, which is one of the reasons we can get in trouble. But actually, when you move your shoulder, if you just have a good swing with your arm, and then reach behind for your shoulder blade, your scapula, you'll notice that that scapula also has to glide, and it kind of swings up and out every time you lift your arm. So we can also focus on getting that scapula to glide well, not be too kind of sticky. And there's another joint here, actually, at the sternum that also has to move. So there's quite a lot in this whole shoulder girdle that wants to work together. And of course, we're talking about mobilizing, but also stabilizing the shoulder. So we'll have a look at both of those. I'm going to bring you to the wall first of all. So clear some wall space, or you could put your elbows onto chest of drawers or something. So first of all, to get the length in the upper back, the elbows might need to be quite high so that your upper back is lengthening, it's not rounding up. That could be because your hamstrings are tight or just because the back is a little bit tight. If you're not so stiff there, you can put the elbows a bit lower, but try to not dunk down with your rib cage at all. So you want to feel like you're being really long along the waist, along the side body. So imagine you're trying to push the wall away. So as you push through your forearms, through the inner wrist, through the elbows, you can perhaps feel that you can stabilize that scapula, that shoulder blade area, and press the shoulder blades onto the rib cage quite well, and keep reaching forward to the crown of the head. So work the legs here, engage the front thighs, the quadriceps, and just check that you're in a position where your breath can still feel quite free. So once you've learnt this pose, it's such a simple shape really that you can just kind of put it in at any point in your day. Press, 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 press with the forearms. So remember you're getting that stability there. And then gradually gravity kind of comes along and allows the shoulders to open a little more. So we're getting an opening across the chest and combining that with that stability in the upper back, those two things working together. It's a good idea to stay till it starts to feel quite tiring or quite intense, so you're actually really getting things to shift. And then when that feels enough, coming gently out. Let yourself rest for a moment. I've just got one more that we'll do from here. So the second one, we're going to press the forearm on the wall again, but sideways. So this time I'm going to line up my elbow with my shoulder there. And again, I want to try and push the wall down. I'm going to bend my knees a bit because it makes it a bit easier to keep the lower back long, the tailbone hugging in. And then as I push into the forearm, I feel that the shoulder blade, again, grips towards the spine, but also forward towards the chest. But I'm going to resist with the front body, so not popping my ribs forward at all. Take a few slow, easeful breaths. When you breathe slowly, it just helps the nervous system adapt. So that helps the muscles relax. And once you've kind of stabilized and mobilized a bit there, if you feel you've got space, you can turn the body a tiny bit away from the wall into the room. So you can see how that's going to give more length across the pecs and into the shoulder, into the deltoid. Trying not to hurry, but just to keep that holding on, that stability at the shoulder as well as that opening. Keep pushing in the arm. And then gently releasing. And then you'll take it to the other side. Pushing in the forearm so your shoulder blade hugs onto the back well. Keep pushing and stabilizing that scapula so it's pressing towards the chest and sliding towards the spine a little. And then if you feel you've got a little bit of space, just turn a little bit into the room so you really get that opening across the chest and the front shoulder. So of course, because our daily activities bring the arms forward so much, and especially if we're at a laptop or on our phone loads, then you can get this, just the pattern in the body can get a little bit sticky. It's actually the collagen in the connective tissue, in the fascia, that starts to create adhesions that makes it a little bit stickier. It actually turns a little bit more glue-like rather than gliding. So these slow holds get to really release and undo some of those habits. Yeah, and then when you're ready, gently release from there. Shake it all out. Good. So the other useful tip, and this is more mobilizing then, can be to hold some kind of strap or belt. Get yourself quite nice and stable. And then we can just play with different shoulder movements. So reaching up, flexion, and then taking the arms overhead. And you may need to go quite wide to bring the hands down. The key is to keep the hands symmetrical, so not to sort of have to cheat and go wonky. So give yourself enough width that you can get up and over. Maybe inhaling high, keep the ribs tucked, exhaling back and down. So that kind of action can be useful, or you might want to kind of feel like you're saving the world and take your arms up and open. And again, remember to press the shoulder blade into the back, so you're being quite stable there in the shoulder blade area. Changing sides. Yeah, good. And then we can also give a full rotation to the shoulder. That might be good to do from this low lunge, something like that, getting steady there. So I've got my right knee down. I'm going to circle my right arm forward and up, bringing it slightly across the body. And then I'm going to turn my arm out at that shoulder joint. And it's actually an internal rotation. And then I'm going to reverse, keeping the knuckles facing in. Now I have to do the external rotation, reach up, across and down. Lift, revolve, joints actually rolling in and back. So I'm getting that joint to move as much as it will. So I'm kind of, instead of sometimes the shoulder gets a bit stuck, I'm exploring the full range within that joint, full range of movement. Yeah, and then you can change side. This is actually from a different movement practice. So there's kind of functional training, it's sometimes called, it actually blends very well with the yogasana. So you reach the arm across and up, revolve so the knuckles turn in. It's an inner rotation at the glenohumeral. Change direction and come down. So hopefully by doing these quite full movements in the shoulder, in the body, any of those fascial adhesions, those kind of sticky places, get to release off. Yeah, good. Lovely. So from there, working the extension of the shoulders, so that's bringing the arms behind, and we've kind of looked at a few different actions with that in other practices. You might want to try hold a brick and lift, or just try and press into the brick and lift, which I find very difficult, so I'm going to hold. But some of you may feel that you've got enough traction to press in and just lift and really squeeze the shoulder blades onto the back. So you can probably feel those muscles around and under the scapula really working and engaging there. So that's fairly comprehensive for the shoulders. In terms of the neck, if you just sit comfortably or stand, whatever feels good for you right now. And then instead of just lengthening the neck to the side as we've done, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to resist the stretch. So you get the muscles contracting, but also lengthening. It's called an eccentric contraction. So I'm going to bring my right arm up towards my left side of the head. And I want this side to lengthen, but I'm going to contract the muscles. So I'm going to resist the lengthening. I'm going to resist the effort of this arm. So instead of just letting it come, I'm pushing my head into my hand. So these neck muscles contract a little. And as I do that, I'm still going to let the head go, but as if against some resistance. So because we can't always just stretch out muscles, especially sometimes the muscles are weak, but they might feel tight or they might be both. So sometimes the strengthening is a better idea. When you get there, you can just relax that effort of the neck. But then you may want to do the same thing to lift the head again. So have the hand there and actually make it a bit of an effort to lift. So you've got a contraction. In between, I would just turn the head so that you've used a different muscle group altogether. And obviously you can repeat that a few times. I'll just show on the other side. So when my left arm comes towards my right side, instead of just letting the head come with this arm, I'm going to try and keep my head to the right. So my left arm's having to work harder, but it's actually contracting these neck muscles a bit. So I'm letting my head go, but a little bit more slowly, as if against some resistance. And then when I get there, I can just relax that pretty much. Don't have to keep gripping. And then I could do the same thing coming back, instead of pushing my head into my hand. So that I've got some resistance in putting the head back upright. So again, these muscles here are contracting. And then when I get more or less to what feels like the center, just let my head turn. Side and side. And then the other thing with the neck is just during your whole practice, just checking that your alignment of the head hasn't gone out. So sometimes we throw the chin high. And also we can hold the head and support the base of the skull. So that can be done in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different poses. So for example, when I'm in cross legs, I could just give this little gliding up action at the base of the skull. And you can see that I'm letting my shoulder blades lift up to get that. And then I could use this to this kind of cat-cow sort of action. Or little twisting actions, so just kind of freeing up around the neck from time to time. And then of course, whenever you have the opportunity, you can release the weight of the head. So say you're in all fours, as you've exhaled and dropped the head, you may actually want to let your head revolve or do little circles. So you're actually letting the weight of the head release the neck. The same in something like down dog. Push in your hands well, and then let your head just turn, or nod yes and shake no. So just kind of letting the neck move out of its habitual patterns of movement. Good. And then the last one for this sequence that I'll share is from lying down. And this, I think we will run through already together, might feel quite familiar. You may want a blanket or a bolster under your head, at least initially. Put that there. I'm going to come to side lying. And then I'm going to do this kind of tick-tock action with this arm as if it's a clock arm. Reaching up, rolling over, and let the neck follow through so the eyes can follow the arm. So again, you're getting a full rotation at the shoulder. Letting the work come through the neck. And then once you've kind of opened and closed a few times, you may want to stay in the twist. And then at that point, sometimes you feel like you could do it without some height under the head. So just very much depends on the body, how that feels. If it's too intense for your back, then one leg long, one leg bent might feel better for you. And just to show that from the other side. So if you find this kind of action quite ease-giving, then it's the kind of closing type movement for a practice that you could include in a lot of your practices. Open and close with the arm, and then perhaps staying open if that feels good for you, and maybe letting your head turn if that feels comfortable. Yeah, and then whenever you're ready, just gently releasing. Good. There are, of course, so many things you can do for your neck and shoulder release, so let me know if you've got some other brilliant ones. Good. Enjoy your practice. Thank you.